Hello, everyone, and welcome to the debrief on ABC News Live. I'm Kimberly Brooks. Thanks so much for joining us. We're bringing you the latest on the Colorado school shooting that left one student dead. And the Royals launched a new amazing app for Mental Health Awareness Month. And Jeff Bezos is trying to take us to the moon and leave us there. But first, here are your headlines.
IPO day has arrived for Uber, the initial price $45 a share, valuing the company at around $82 billion. It appears North Korea's launch this week was of 2 short-range missiles, and experts say they're similar to Russian-made missiles.
Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan is going to be nominated to the position on a permanent basis. The former Boeing executive has served as acting secretary for 5 months.
And a giraffe at the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle has something new: shoes. Zookeepers say a baby giraffe was born earlier this month with problems with its hind feet, so now it wears a set of shoes to try and fix the way it walks.
Delta is getting closer to offering free Wi-Fi on flights. It's planning a 2-week test run on dozens of domestic flights later this month. On Delta right now, Wi-Fi costs as much as $16 for a full day of Wi-Fi in North America. A little over 10% of flyers typically sign on.
There's a battle brewing at the box office. For 2 weeks, Avengers Endgame has sat at the top, earning a global total of $2.7 billion. This weekend, Pokemon Detective Pikachu hopes to dethrone Endgame as the #1 movie in the world. Pokemon expected to make $160 million worldwide during its opening weekend.
It's becoming increasingly difficult to process even one tragedy when we have so many that are happening regularly. Within the past 2 weeks alone, 3 people lost their lives trying to stop a gunman during a shooting. Lori Gilbert Kay, she died protecting people at her synagogue on April 27th. Riley Howell was killed trying to stop the shooter at the University of North Carolina on April 30th. And then Kendrick Castillo, an 18-year-old so close to graduation, killed stopping the gunman at Highland Ranch, Colorado, just this week. This is not normal, and there's so many more events that don't even make the news. Today, George Stephanopoulos, he sat down with one of the heroes at Highland Ranch to hear what he had to say. Take a listen.
I saw the gunman come in the room, brandishing a weapon, saying, "Nobody move." And then I saw Kendrick and Brendan get up, and I was right there with them. It was confusing. You never expect that to happen at your school. So when it does, it's confusing and scary. But then you go for it. I never thought about specifically how I would react. I would just say, yeah, if it happens, I'll try and get away from the gunman, I guess. I mean, that's what we're told. And then when it actually happened, I had to make that decision that nobody should really ever have to make, which was run towards a gunman or run away from them. And I chose to run towards him.
Absolutely terrifying. I want to go to Matt Gutman, who's in Colorado, with more details on the Colorado investigation. Matt?
Hey, Kimberly, yeah, you can still see that police presence behind me at the school. There's still caution tape. The district attorney says that he needs basically until the end of today to continue the police investigation. He wants them to be able to complete their job before presenting the full charges to the 2 suspects later on. Now, one of the things that police are investigating inside that school is not only what the 2 suspects did, but what that security guard did. Now, there was an armed security guard in the school at the time of the shooting. So we're talking about 3 armed parties, basically. There were the 2 suspects, the teenage gunmen, dozens of police officers swarming, and that lone security guard. Now, law enforcement sources tell us that security guard fired at least 1 shot, and they're investigating whether that was fired accidentally towards law enforcement as they try to make entrance into that building. there is another controversy brewing at this school, and that is based on a document that ABC News has obtained. It was sent out by the school board, and it outlines a phone call made to the school board in December by a mother, calling it anonymously, who claimed to be the mother of a senior at the school. And she basically paints a picture of a very troubled place. This high-pressure environment that she said was ripe for violence. She said there was self-harm, there were drugs in the school, that the complaints by parents like her apparently went ignored, and that if unchecked, this is the kind of thing, she wrote, that could lead to another Columbine-type attack. The school says it took the allegations seriously. It investigated them, but found that there is no basis in fact to them. Anecdotally, I've heard from students at the school that there is self-harm, that kids have been in school, seen in class with cuts up and down their arms, something that mother talked about. So it's unclear how seriously the school board took these complaints and allegations. It tells us it took them as seriously as it possibly could. Now, police investigation in that school should wrap up, and it is important to note that today, Friday, was the day that the school graduation was supposed to take place, and that senior 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo was supposed to graduate today. Instead, his family is preparing for a funeral. A number of the kids shot are also still in the hospital. Kimberly.
Thank you, Matt. Very, very sad. So we move on to Washington. The U.S. officially raised tariffs on Chinese goods, and shortly after it went into effect, China said it would unfortunately have to fight back. So I want to go to Lana Zak, who's at the White House. Lana, can you just tell us when this went into effect and what the potential countermeasures would be by China?
Hey, Kimberly, this started at midnight last night, and essentially it is the two largest economies in the world locking horns right now. And it's unclear how exactly it's going to all get resolved. So the United States this morning increased tariffs from 10% to 25% on certain Chinese goods. That means that American taxpayers and American consumers are actually going to be spending more money when they're buying these Chinese goods. China, of course, saying that they're now going to reciprocate. We don't know exactly what that means, but it could also harm the U.S. economy. President Trump responding, of course, saying that he likes tariffs. He has been tweeting about it this morning. He also said that he wants his administration to use the revenue from the tariffs on Chinese goods to go into purchasing, quote, agricultural products from our great farmers in larger amounts than China ever did and ship it to poor and starving countries. But like so many things that the president tweets, we'll have to be watching to see if that actually turns into American policy. And just to correct the president on one of his tweets, the payments on these tariffs are not coming from China. They are coming from American consumers who are purchasing these goods. Kimberly?
Lana, pretty interesting there. And while we have you, I also want to ask you about your radio calls this morning, because people are still talking about if Mueller is going to actually testify.
Yeah, the president has weighed in on that yet again here at the White House. He says now that he's punting the decision to the Attorney General, William Barr. He says that Barr should decide if the special counsel, Robert Mueller, should comply with Congress's request to have him appear and answer questions about the report. Remember, this became a big issue after ABC News and others learned that the special counsel disputed the way that Barr characterized the findings in his report, particularly when it came to questions of obstruction of justice. So members of Congress say they want to hear from Mueller himself. The president initially said he didn't have a problem with that. Then he said he did have a problem with it. And now he says that his attorney general will ultimately make the decision. But it's probably not going to sit well with congressional Democrats who have already accused Barr of acting more like the president's attorney than the attorney general of the United States. Kimberly.
Yes, lots of back and forth there. Lana Zak at the White House, thank you so much. Guys, the weather is not letting up at all, especially down south. There's torrential rain and flooding that's just beating up Texas and Louisiana. So I want to go to Maggie Rulli, who's in Houston with more of the details. Maggie?
Yeah, Kimberly, we are still dealing with that severe weather outbreak here in southern Texas and really across all of the southern plains. One of the major things we saw last night were lightning strikes. We were out driving around overnight all over Houston. Kimberly, the sky was absolutely lighting up with streaks of lightning non-stop. I mean, even during some of our shots we were doing earlier this morning, there were lightning strikes behind me lighting up the sky. And to show you just how extremely dangerous this can be, if you look at all those flashing lights behind me, there was a huge mansion back there. It was actually over a $2 million mansion here just outside Houston. It is completely gone now. It burned down overnight. Investigators believe one of those lightning strikes hit that house, causing it to burn down. They were not able to save it overnight. So this is something that people are very concerned about. Again, that happened throughout the night into the early morning hours. So on top of all of that lightning and severe weather, the other thing we're obviously dealing with here, Kimberly, is this rain. It is coming down nonstop. It started last night, maybe around 10 p.m. local time. They don't really expect it to let up anytime soon. It has just been raining and raining and raining. Now remember, Kimberly, this is on top of all that rain we already had earlier this week. So many areas seeing around 10 inches of rain just about Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That's when we first got here. It hasn't let up a little bit in the middle of the week, but bands of storms have continued to come in ever since then. And last night, some areas saw, again, heavy rainfall of up to 3 inches of rain per hour. That is causing a lot of stress here on the drainage systems. So flooding and flash flooding, another major concern. The local stations here kept saying, remind people, do not go out in this, do not drive in this weather if you do not have to. Although we still saw some cars out on the roadways, some that had gotten stuck overnight, some people just abandoning their cars. As you drive down the street, you would see cars kind of just littering the side of the road. People that decided to get out of their cars have to leave them behind. Other people had to be rescued in nearby areas when they decided to drive into that heavy rainwater. So still a very serious situation. Authorities reminding people to take this seriously, to not go out in the floodwaters. It is not worth the risk. Many people are taking this serious. Kimberly, it's hard to have a rainstorm like this here in Houston and not be reminded of Hurricane Harvey just a couple years ago. And that's something that all the locals we talk to here, it is constantly on their mind. We met up with one man and his family in a town nearby, and that's what they said. They said that flooded during Harvey. They did not want to take that chance again. They actually rented a U-Haul and were packing up their entire home. We saw them put things like their washer and dryer, their nice cabinetry into that U-Haul. He said, if we leave this behind and we flood again like we did in Harvey, everything is going to be gone. He showed me where that floodwaters came up to in his house. He said it was about 4 feet high. He did not want to take that risk again. He was not the only one. A lot of people we ran into were evacuating ahead of this storm, sort of still living in fear from what they remember. Although I should say, hopefully this is not going to be as dramatic as Harvey. Some of those rainwaters are already receding. The rain is lightening up, but we are really concerned about rivers cresting. That could happen in the next couple of days, so we are still watching that. People are still on guard, and Kimberly, they've already closed down most of the schools and businesses here. So people are taking this seriously. Hopefully it keeps going in this direction where the rain is lightening up, but we'll be here throughout the day. Kimberly?
All right, Maggie, thank you for all of the updates, and we hope people do take it seriously and continue to be safe. Okay, guys, when the World Trade Center collapsed on 9/11, 23 NYPD officers died. And now, 18 years later, 9/11 still remains the single biggest killer of officers in the nation's largest police force. So I want to bring in Aaron Kontersky, who's live at the NYPD police headquarters. Aaron, when I saw this, I mean, this is alarming. Can you just explain to us what this actually means?
Well, it's so alarming because 9/11 is still a killer, and a significant killer of not only police officers, but firefighters and other first responders from September 11th who got sick because of their work on or immediately after the attacks. They were sitting in that toxic stew of debris. And in the last 18 years, 9/11 has taken 201 lives of New York City police officers, 23 on that day and more than 200 in the aftermath. And today, here at police headquarters, they are adding several dozen new names to a memorial wall to pay tribute to those fallen officers because of 9/11 related illnesses.
Wow, it's incredible. We don't talk enough about the trauma in the aftermath. Can you tell us a little bit about the fund that is set up for the victims?
This started with an ordinary victims' compensation fund and was replaced and replenished with the Zadroga Act, named for a New York City police officer. And the whole idea is to compensate these first responders who've been able to prove that their illness, a cancer or some other ailment, is a direct result of their service on or immediately after 9/11. And there have been so many claims that this fund is simply running out of money, and it's scheduled to shut down in 2020. And Police Commissioner James O'Neill here at the NYPD said that's just unacceptable. No matter the cost and no matter the time, he said the country owes it to the first responders to continue to defray their medical bills and to pay death claims to families. But without some action from Congress, that's just not going to happen. The special master who oversees the Victims' Compensation Fund for 9/11 said a couple of months ago that the money is dwindling and that claims would either have to be reduced or denied.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much for the report. I think a lot of people didn't know that that was happening, so we appreciate it. Guys, May, if you didn't know, we've been talking about it a lot, but May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's underway, and there's a big shift happening because lots of celebrities and people of influence are letting people know that it's okay to get the help that we all need. The Royals are a big example of this. This week, they launched a new amazing tech service called Shout. It's basically a service that allows people who are feeling suicidal or facing a crisis to chat privately with a trained volunteer to listen and guide them. So that's amazing that they just launched that, especially since baby Archie was just born. They're still working away. And the mental health practices, you know, they need to start early. It's critical. And today there's a really, really awesome event going on. Millions of classrooms around the world today are taking part in the first ever global mindfulness lesson through an app called Class Dojo. So take a look at this.
Imagine a ship in the ocean. Your emotions are like the waves, and every now and again, a strong emotion comes along like a big wave. You can either let it take you for a wild ride, or be the captain and take control by steering yourself through it. Your deep, mindful breaths are what help you take control when you feel a little out of control. Let's give it a go. Put your hands on your belly and take a slow, deep breath through your nose. Hold it for a couple seconds, then slowly breathe out through your mouth.
All right, so you see it there. I want to bring in the CEO of this incredible app, Class Dojo. His name is Sam Chowdhury. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. I'm very excited about this. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the event happening today?
Yeah, hey Kimberly, thanks for having me. It's a really exciting moment. You know, like mindfulness and mental well-being is so important. It's a growing theme, and so today we're excited to help millions of classrooms in 180 countries have what we're calling the world's biggest mindful moment. So kids all around the world will get a short mindfulness lesson. You heard some of it there. So it'll be kind of a breathing exercise and then some discussion questions for the whole class. And so it's starting at 11 a.m. local time in every city around the world. And I think Chicago is happening just now.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I just want you to explain to people why mindfulness and the teaching of meditation is so important for children specifically.
Yeah, well, you know, Class Dojo is a communication app, and so for teachers and children and families. And so we work with children, families, teachers all over the world. So we talk to them all the time. And, you know, they've been telling us that there's something that they've been more and more worried about that just seems to be being missed. And that's that kids face so much stress and anxiety and low mental well-being. And it's, you know, it's something that's not talked about enough, but I think everyone experiences. You know, in the survey we did, we found that like 90% of teachers and families would love for their schools to teach something like mindfulness, but only 10% get access to anything like it. And so we went to the experts, Mark Brackett at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, you know, and we were talking about how mindfulness has been shown to help kids improve optimism, improve focus, lower stress levels, and also improve just kind of overall mental well-being. And so we worked with him to create these short lessons, which are now being given to tens of millions of kids all over the world.
That's amazing. So the idea is that mental wellness in classrooms is as important as the classwork, yes?
That's exactly right. I mean, 65% of teachers and families that we surveyed said exactly that mental well-being is at least as important as schoolwork. And it just makes sense.
So what I want to ask you is the event that's happening today, it's happening in 180 countries all over the world. Is this something that you plan to replicate, or is it just for today?
No, look, I think building mindfulness as a skill, it's a lifelong skill. And so today we're really excited about this first kind of kickoff moment. And, we have all these classrooms doing it together. But, next week, for instance, there's a new mindfulness lesson being released on Class Dojo every day. And there'll be much more to come in the future, I think. And I'm excited to help teachers, help kids and families build this lifelong skill.
All right, Sam Chowdhury from Class Dojo, thank you so much. Very important work, so we appreciate you joining us.
Yes, family, thanks.
Yes. It's been 50 years since man first set foot on the moon, and now Amazon's Jeff Bezos wants to take another giant leap forward. His Blue Origin space company unveiled a lunar lander yesterday. The goal is to get astronauts back on the moon by 2024. And get this, Bezos wants to one day create enormous space colonies where people can live, like go to the moon and stay forever. I don't know about that, Jeff. Sounds cool, though. Pretty awesome. All right, so back to earthly things. Mother's Day is Sunday, and you have a few days left to try to find your special gift. I think it should be thoughtful, beautiful, like flowers. Okay, you may think that sounds cliche, but in Los Angeles, flowers is the gift to get. So I want to go to Romina Puga, who's at a flower market where they're taking these arrangements very seriously. No, Romina?
I get the best stories, Kim.
Yes.
Yes, so we're here at the California Flower Mall in downtown Los Angeles. This 6-block flower market is one of the biggest in the nation. And this one's actually open to everyone, so individuals can come, vendors can come, it's all wholesale. And this weekend, Mother's Day weekend, is actually their biggest weekend, not Valentine's Day. They make 60% of their revenue from this weekend, and it's not just regular Mother's Day. Today is Mexican Mother's Day, and LA has a big Hispanic community, so they really double down. There was a mariachi band here earlier serenading all the mothers who work here, and I want to show you a bit. Here you have like the typical bouquets. They're colorful, beautiful. Like, look at these blue roses. Over here, up there, there's a floral dress. And then over here, if you want something that's already made, there are pre-made arrangements for the mom in your life, the sister, the best friend, whoever. And this goes on for an entire block, just this one mall. Kim?
Wow, who knew? Are you picking out anything special for your mom? I hope she's not watching so we don't give it away.
I am. I'm like picking out everything I want. It's crazy. There's so many different options. There's, like I said, there's some crazy arrangements. Actually, I want to show you one more thing over here. Because I've never seen this before. And they're all over. They're like Beauty and the Beast, like globe roses. I don't know if you can see these. So they get real creative here. It's not just your regular bouquets.
That's pretty dope. I love it. All right, guys, that's pretty amazing. Some more options for us. Romina, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Kim.
All right, we're saying Happy Mother's Day now just in case we don't see anyone until Monday, so we're getting it out of the way. Okay, before we go, our team has a new obsession, guys, town criers. Hear me out. It started when our Will Reeve was on Royal Baby Watch and he interviewed the town crier in Windsor. Okay, so from there, the producers went down this major rabbit hole and discovered there's actually a town crier international competition. When is it happening? It's happening today. So we're joined by one of the judges, Richard Lalina in Michigan. Richard, thanks so much for being with us. Our producers are obsessed with all of this. Can you just remind us what a town crier is?
Well, a town crier is exactly what you guys do now. A town crier before radio and television and before newspaper brought the news to people in public.
Super cool, super cool. So I don't even think we have time to get into how you became a judge, but what are you looking for as a judge in this very awesome competition?
Well, these are town criers from around the world, and they're going to be competing against each other to see who the best crier is. And they're judged on the content of their cry. Holland, Michigan sent them topics of what they wanted to cry about, and so then they rate it. They're judged on their clarity, how good they get the message out to the people, the sustained volume, make sure that the level of volume in the voice stays the same through the whole cry, their deportment, how they carry themselves, how they act. If they're dressed royal, they should act royal. If they're dressed colonial, they should act colonial. And then pretty much just all overall liking from the audience.
All right, and before we go, I think it's only appropriate that we ask you to give us an example. I mean, it's almost the weekend, so can you?
Sure. All our opening cries to stay in tradition start out with "Oh yay," which our courts still start out with, and of course they have a bell like this little one that I have here.
That's a big bell.
Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. This is Town Crier Richard Lalina thanking you for listening and watching. Have a great day, folks. Love you, kids.
That is amazing. Everyone is so happy right now, including myself. Very nice to join you. Very, very nice for you to join us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much for having me. And don't forget, Holland, Michigan Tulip Time Festival is lasting until tomorrow with the big parade. So come out, Michigan. Come out and support Tulip Time.
You heard him. Go out and support Tulip Time, everyone. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Richard. That was amazing. Hear ye, hear ye. We're at the end of the show. Guys, have an incredible weekend. But if you're around for a little bit, stick around for the briefing room at 3:30 p.m. Then you can check out World News Tonight at 8 p.m. And if you want to stay updated on all of these headlines, you can go to abcnews.com or download the app. Take care of yourselves this weekend, and I'll see you next week.